Why is BioShock considered one of the best games of all time? Would it be cheating to say that BioShock owed its success to a combination of factors, because it definitely had a lot going on? For one, there's the strong philosophical component. Andrew Ryan's philosophy, as well as his name, is based on Ayn Rand's idea of objectivism, as obvious as that may be. BioShock also marked a big step forward in graphics processing. Just look at the water in its opening sequence. Still totally holds up. Then there's the audio, which, I don't know, just listen to it. See, it's creepy. But I think BioShock owes its success to one specific reason: the setting. BioShock was one of the first games to do environmental storytelling well. The setting is a real character in the game. In BioShock 1 and 2, much of the suspense stems from the question of how the Art Deco World of Rapture came to be the ruins it is when you arrive. It's impossible not to wonder how it got to be this way. But puzzling settings are just that, puzzles. So how does the setting of BioShock actually make it the great game that it is? Here's the thing about a good setting. You know it's nice when you never have to think about why it works. It just does. In video games, that feeling has a lot to do with level design. Level design sets the rules for how you move through a video game space. It gives you both purpose and constraints. We often talk about game mechanics, things like jumping, shooting, or running, but level design is what keeps you from just wandering aimlessly about. When it works well, it's in the background. It's wrapped in more visible forms of art. For example, level design is placing an object in your path so that you can't move forward. But the art direction of the game dictates what that roadblock is. Is it a simple rock, like in Red Dead Redemption, or is it something more ominous, like a downed dragon in Dark Souls? But in BioShock 1 and 2, that roadblock is likely to be in a particular architectural style: Art Deco. Art Deco is an art movement from the 1930s that tried to translate the logic of machines into art. It focuses strongly on vertical lines and geometric shapes. Everything has a machine-made quality. Its design is also aggressively symmetrical, giving it this inorganic quality, as perfect symmetry does not exist in nature. You can probably tell that this wasn't exactly the most subtle of artistic ideas. Art Deco often purposely stood out, using hyper-contrasting colors to highlight architectural details. So in case the geometric forms weren't clear enough for you, you had the colors. This is what the future was supposed to look like, which, if you can't tell already, didn't exactly happen. But you could still see Art Deco all over the world, and especially right here in New York, with places like the Waldorf Astoria, the Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, or if you're willing to go a little bit further afield, Rapture. But Rapture's Art Deco architecture isn't just a skin wrapping BioShock's level design. What makes BioShock great is that its visual design and level design work hand in hand. BioShock utilizes the signature features of Art Deco to make the function of its level design more explicit to the player. And not only this, but Art Deco quite nearly tells you what you're doing and who you are in BioShock. This is no mere aesthetic choice. To BioShock, Art Deco is everything. It starts from the very beginning. You only get a brief view of Rapture's exterior as you descend in the bathysphere. The towers have vertical ridges and geometric patterns pointing upwards. This means from the very start, the architecture in BioShock is guiding your eye. Everything is vertical and you're sinking. You know to spend the rest of the game looking up. That's good to know, because the first splicers that Jack meets are spider splicers. They descend from the rafters. The vertical lines are a warning. Or consider Rapture's proving grounds. Take me to the angels dancing in the sky, the little sisters keep saying, and that's what Art Deco helps the game's architecture do. All the columns have a number of sharp edges creating verticality. Sunburst patterns remind you of the sky. Everything points up. And all these Art Deco touches are also level design 101. As Tito Pagan puts it, in a game level, a certain repetitive motif, pattern, or texture could help guide the player through the experience of movement. Moving or nudging the player through the exploration experience is one of the most basic yet important responsibilities that a level design has to satisfy. But here's the twist. These game design ideas are also Rapture founder Andrew Ryan's ideas. He even says,
"A man chooses, a slave obeys."
You're quite literally obeying the environment. Would you kindly consider BioShock's twist as well? It turns out Jack's been overestimating his agency all along. He's basically living in a machine that controls him. So it all comes full circle. Art Deco's vertical lines and geometric shapes make you obey the game's logic until you find out what's been going on all along. But that's not the only Art Deco idea BioShock uses to complement its level design. It also uses strong color contrast in much the same way as it uses vertical vertical lines. Take the electric blue of the Vita chambers. This color is completely out of place in the decaying gray environment of Rapture. That's how you know they're important. Or consider a passage near the end of BioShock 2 where you play as a little sister. Suddenly the colors change. Everything is vibrant. And like the vertical lines, this use of color is a really simple level design concept. In his book on the architecture of levels, Christopher Totten notes color contrast is an important factor in leading players through a game environment. How else would you find these shimmering audio diaries if they were gray like everything else? But while many games use this technique, the difference in BioShock is that it relates to an Art Deco principle. The Vita chamber is a magnificent blue, but what really matters is that the blue light it's casting is illuminating the tall geometric rafters above it. The Vita chamber anchors your eyes, but the Art Deco architecture then pulls you up. That's the beauty of BioShock. Every level design idea is also an architectural detail that relates to the game's setting. Art Deco isn't just incidental to what BioShock was trying to accomplish. It's at the very core of how the game works. In fact, I go so far as to argue that Art Deco was the only choice for BioShock. Change the architectural style of the game and it all falls apart. BioShock changed a lot over its initial development as well. Little Sisters used to look way more demonic, and the enemies overall were shifted in both style and tone. But even looking back at some of those initial sketches, the Art Deco world was there from the beginning and remained through the end. There are lots of games with good level design, and there are lots of games with interesting architecture, but BioShock stands alone in that both of these things are the same, and that's what makes BioShock so special. Its setting does so much work for the game and the player, but it's so harmonious that it never calls attention to itself. So what do you think? Did you pick up on the interplay between architecture and level design in BioShock, or did it not really thrill you all that much? Hash it out in the comments, and if you like what you saw, please subscribe. I'll see you next week.